Are you guys ready to immerse yourself in the fascinating world of early human evolution? How about finding answers to how our ancestors survived, thrived, and evolved into the beings we are today? Well, if you are, then hold on to your seats because we're about to get on a thrilling adventure through the ages. Let's go. Imagine a world where multiple species of humans coexisted, each with their own unique abilities and characteristics. This was not just the stuff of science fiction, but a reality that existed on our very own planet. But just how many early human species roamed the Earth? The answer may surprise you. Alright, before we can get into it, we might need to ask ourselves, what exactly is the definition of a man? No, we're not joking. You see, we Homo sapiens weren't always alone ourselves. There used to be a lot greater diversity among humans, roughly 300,000 years ago. Homo sapiens coexisted with 8 possible extinct human species. Can't believe it, huh? We coexisted in caves with the Denisovans, a different human species, as recently as 15,000 years ago. Furthermore, fossilized remains suggest that before our species arrived on Earth, an even greater number of early human species had called it home. Yeah, so how many different species of early humans existed? It becomes difficult to determine how many unique species of people there were, especially since new fossils are continually discovered that turn out to be completely distinct and undiscovered species. Now, there comes the importance of how we define humans. It's all about the definition of a species and the degree to which you accept variation within a species. Yes, this can be the size of the head, teeth, scales, all that stuff. Until now, we have found almost 7 species of early men. Why don't we start with ourselves? Wouldn't that be exciting? Alright, here we have Homo sapiens, the wise man. About 200,000 years ago, our species, we originally originated in Africa. At least 100,000 years ago, they started to leave Africa and spread to other parts of the world. Additionally, we appear to have remained there for a while, although it is unknown when certain modern humans originally migrated out of Africa. Evidence suggests that they did not do so until 60,000 to 90,000 years ago. Most likely a shift in the climate contributed to their expulsion. According to experts, droughts in Africa caused hunger, which contributed to the near extinction of humanity before they had an opportunity to travel the globe. You guys should be glad. The first people's migration from Africa was probably helped by a change in temperature and increased greenery in the Middle East. It's clear how important the modern human species is, considering the brilliance of past human species. None of them appeared to have been able to match the sophistication of our species, technological and artistic development. Our species may not have physically distinguished itself from earlier human species, such as the Neanderthals, and the two species even interbred. However, the emotional and intellectual divides might be a significant factor in the rapid extinction of all other ancient human species that saw modern humans within a few thousand years of the initial encounter. By 40,000 years ago, our species was the only one left on Earth. Oops, too sad. Let's take a look into Homo naledi, or the Starman. Now, these starmen too supposedly lived in South Africa. The species' age hasn't been officially documented, although unofficial accounts indicate it lived between 300,000 and 200,000 years ago. The human phylogeny was expanded by the addition of another noteworthy species 10 years after the discovery of Homo floresiensis. Homo naledi showed an odd mixture of traits, with certain portions of its skeleton nearly resembling an ape, while other areas were indistinguishable from those of living humans. The species appears to have been capable of sophisticated modern human-like behavior. Most notably, there is some evidence that the species intentionally disposed of its dead in a rock chamber. It also had a brain that was somewhat larger than that of a chimpanzee. Where Homo naledi fits in the human evolutionary tree is still unclear because of the odd combination of modern and ancient traits that can be seen in its bones. According to a study released the previous year, it might be on a branch extremely close to the ground, possibly between Homo habilis and Homo erectus. As a result, many believe that these guys existed around the same time as Homo habilis, and that it became extinct more than 1 million years ago as a result of competition for more developed humans like Homo erectus. Meanwhile, unconfirmed sources, however, indicated the Homo naledi may have lived as recent as a few 100,000 years ago. If that age is established, we will have a new puzzle to solve. How did this species of human that appeared so basic endure for such a long time? Let's look into that into another episode. So, as we turn the page to a new chapter in the story of our past, we must wonder what other secrets lie waiting to be uncovered. The journey continues and the mystery deepens. Stay tuned for more discoveries on the early human species that existed on Earth.